stars all over the place. Well, Greg, how does it feel to be back at your old digs here, your radio show, and of course you host Bulls Barbecue, and it's always good to see you. And thank you for being Gary's and my guest on the first show.
I didn't realize I was doing it for 17 years.
Wow.
It went pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like our careers.
Chris Irmer's the only one that changed. You got it, my man.
Matt Miro, program director, is here.
Oh, that's a first. He don't show. In 17 years, he probably only showed up 10 times.
Well, Gary,
and that's because he needed something. He needed a ball signed or something like that. But
yeah.
It was fun, Dan. It was a great time. Look at all these great people. A lot of them that been coming to the show for 17 years or better.
Well, so we appreciate all of you.
Great following.
And the Foremans over there, Ellen puts together this great book every year of the Bulls session.
Yep.
And my goodness, it's like it's a masterpiece. Photos of all the guests, Sarge. And do we have enough Ellen and Jack for Greg and Sarge? No. I know you have one for Merle Reese, the vice president and general manager, right? I know you have one for the program, and I hope you have one for me. But Sarge and Greg, let me get your first impression of the 2024 Phillies. Sarge?
Well, they look strong personally for me. Again, I come from an era on the strikeouts. I don't like seeing that. I'm looking at our center fielder, good athlete. I just think he's just too robotic for me, and he's going to be a big part, of this club here in their success and winning. But they don't fear the Atlanta Braves, but I got to tell you, in looking at the two clubs, Atlanta looked like real men out there, the way that they can club the ball. No lead is going to be safe. I like Turner starting off really. He's only going to get better. But they need to hit kind of collectively, as a group to be able to be successful throughout the course of the year. Plus, good defense. I mean, last year I think they were pretty down low in terms of the defense. But, they have a good club, and I think they're going to be fine. I really do. Big game yesterday and winning that game 5-4.
Mm-hmm. Bull, you and Sarge. And by the way, I didn't even mention Sarge. You were a terrific television analyst for the Phillies. How many years were you on the air as a Phillies color analyst?
God, that went by quick too. You know what? I don't know exactly. Maybe 7 years or so, something like that.
Very, very entertaining.
Yeah, I had a good time in doing that.
And you're still a Phillies ambassador.
Yeah.
And Greg, we added Dickie Knowles as an ambassador.
Yeah, I see that.
Mickey Morandini, you.
Yeah, and I told them, don't be burning any bridges. We might have to come back over those bad babies.
They're going to have to, with the ambassadors, they'll be able to field the team soon.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that something? I'm telling you.
They're out there.
Greg,
man.
I believe that you were part of the best 3-4 batting combination. Mike Schmidt batted third, and right behind him was the Bull. So when you had those two coming up back to back, you had some tough sledding. And Greg, Mike Schmidt has said on the air that having you behind him, he got to see probably a lot better pitches than he would have if there wasn't someone behind him that the opposing teams were afraid of.
Well, how the heck he strike out that many times?
Who, Schmitty?
Yeah, swinging at that slider
You
in
know,
the dirt.
I'll be honest
What
with you.
the heck is going on here?
Schmitty changed when Rose came over. Rose instilled in Mike Schmidt that he was the best third baseman in baseball, and stayed on him, stayed close to him, and talked to him about that all the time. About, you know, what's he looking for? Why is he, doing? You know they're going to throw you sliders while you swing at them, that type of thing. And sometimes we were in that same situation.
Sure.
Where you know you're getting a slider and you lift the bat, you're swinging anyways. But Schmidt became a better hitter, to be honest with you, after Pete was there. And Pete helped him a lot. And I think when you look back at 1980, you look back at the 1980 World Series. You know, Schmidt was MVP in 80 of not only the league but also the World Series. So I think personally, and you could see it. You could see him change a lot of things when Pete came over, and you got to give him credit and Pete credit for the mental work he did with him, and there's no question it helped. Greatest third baseman of all time, as far as I'm concerned.
There's no
obviously,
there's no question about that.
He gets all of our votes, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially in that era when you look back at third basemen. I mean, he's
and you had guys
right
like
at
George
the top.
Brett there too. But Schmitty was better than him.
Yeah, even though George Brett drove in 1,600 runs, different kind of player. George hit more for the average,
yes,
and Mike hit more for the power.
Yeah,
even though he is a Hall of Famer, Mike never hit 300. I think George hit 300. He's lifetime.
Plus, he played in that big ballpark.
In Kansas City.
Remember one year, Brett hit in the high 300s for most of the season.
Yeah, and Cecil Cooper was second. He's never been mentioned, but he hit like 378 that year. Both those guys were flirting at 400 there, and Brett obviously ended up winning it, and a true Hall of Famer too.
Hey, Greg Luzinski, you had a very talented son, Ryan Luzinski, who was drafted in the first round of the amateur player draft, and if he got a break here or there, Bull, Ryan could have been an NBA, a MLB star.
Well, he had his plane ticket to go to the big leagues with Baltimore, and Pat Gillick was actually the GM there. Every time I see Gillick, I said, "Hey, you didn't give my kid a shot." He had the plane ticket, right? They pulled him out of the game. Blah blah blah. You're going to Baltimore, and Hoyles had got hurt, and they were basically in a playoff run, and so Foley, Dave Cash, Sid Thrift all wanted Ryan to go, take Hoyles' spot on the roster, and Gillick made a last-minute trade right as he was in the airport. So, he didn't catch that break. A lot of times you got to get that break. Sometimes you can make that break for yourself.
Sure.
And other times you got to catch a break. And it depends who's in front of you a lot of times.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
All in front of you.
Ryan Howard got blocked. There's a perfect example of somebody that spent more time in the minor leagues than he should have, because
Jim Tomey
was here.
Yeah. Can you imagine what Ryan's numbers would have been if he had another 3 or 4 years in his prime?
Yeah, there's no question about it, and that does happen. Things like that happen. So, like I said, when I see Gillick, I always remind of him. I laugh at it too now. It's baseball, but you catch it, like Gary said, you catch that certain break, and he was fortunate enough to have a son that was a great baseball player. And he made his own breaks and got to the big leagues. So.
Yeah, he got released a lot of times. I remember Bobby Cox calling and saying, "Well, I'm going to have to release him because he's not getting any hits." So I called Junior and I said, "Hey, man, you're not getting any hits." First thing he said when I talked to him, he says, "Hey, Dad, I feel great up at the plate." I said, "How the hell you feel great not getting any hits?" But he says, "My swing is good." So I said, okay, but he ended up getting released, but making his own way and all-star with Texas, so turned out good.
He fell in the right spot.
Yeah.
You are listening to and watching the 2024 Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA with Gary Matthews and Greg Luzinski and Chris Ermer. I'm Dan Baker. We'll be back with the second segment of today's show in just a moment.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Relax and enjoy a cocktail from our seasonal cocktail menu. Try one of our delicious, perfectly blended options like strawberry lemonade. How about a raspberry sangria, blend of Pinot Grigio, raspberry liqueur, and bubbly lemon lime soda? Or maybe a Hendrick's Gimlet or a Patron Tropical Mojito is more your style. Enjoy one of these or many others from our Chicky and Pete's sensational seasonal cocktail selection. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly.
I take SEPTA so I never miss tip-off.
I do not have time to deal with traffic.
I don't have a car. Do you know how expensive parking is?
I take the Broad Street line to all the games.
I ride the bus.
I ride the train and the subway.
I set my lineup when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
Whether you're headed to brunch or baseball practice, Team Toyota is ready. With new Toyotas on the lot ready to drive home today, including the all-new Tacoma and rows of RAV4s. And with our huge selection of dependable certified used Toyotas, our pre-owned departments are ready to make a deal that works for you. Plus, our award-winning service centers will have you back on the road in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Everybody, welcome back to Chickies and Pete's. Welcome back to Phillies baseball. Don't forget the Phillies and Cincinnati Reds tonight at Citizens Bank Park, just about across the street here at 6:40. And you know, every week on the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA, we choose a Philly of the week. And we, of course, we leave that to our celebrity expert. So, Sarge, what have you decided over the weekend about which Philly played the best?
Well, let me tell you, it'd be easy to, I think, pick Trey Turner. I'm going to throw a little curveball, which I wouldn't normally pick a pitcher. But even after talking with Bull a little bit, I thought Wheeler's performance was top-notch, and in particularly against a lineup like the Atlanta Braves, and he held them in check the whole game. That's a game there that you want your number one to win. I mean, he pitched his heart out, and again, he's not giving up a lot of runs. I think personally, for me, this club is capable of scoring 5 runs a game. You're going to do that, Wheeler's going to win a lot of games, and so should some of the other pitchers. So I'm going to go with our starter, Mr. Wheeler, for the first independent Blue Cross player of the week.
Oh, thank you, Sarge. Number 45, Zach Wheeler. Bull, I had asked Sarge earlier today about his most proud achievements in his playing career and post-playing career. You know, you have so much to speak to, Greg, when it comes to accomplishments, but if you had to pick one or two, Bull, what baseball achievements are you most proud of, or do you think speak the highest for what you accomplished?
Well, obviously the Houston series, 2 out of 3 game-winning hits there.
In 1980?
1980, and then, obviously winning the World Series. But, I tell you the story about the All-Star game because the year before I was supposed to do a Pan Am commercial in New York City at Yankee Stadium, and George Steinbrenner wouldn't let me do it. and the reason being, he says, because when a player comes to Yankee Stadium, they're in awe. And there is, somewhat of that when you walk in center field. You get off the train and you walk in through center field, and all the monuments and everything are there. It's kind of a hallowed grounds, a special place. But then I was able to play in the All-Star game there, and in the first inning I faced Jim Palmer and hit a 2-run homer. So just something you remember. My first at bat in the Yankee Stadium was a 2-run homer, and I wanted to stick my finger up to the booth where George was, but I didn't do that. I wanted to give him the old, but it's baseball. But I had a chance to go to New York, and I didn't go in '81. When Gary came over, I ended up going to the White Sox, but Steinbrenner was on the warpath in a couple of those years right there, and I look back at it, I'm saying to myself, thank God I didn't go there, because he was bad,
What a lineup though to hit in.
Oh yeah,
with Reggie and those guys.
Oh yeah,
Thurman Munson, Greg Nettles.
Well, Munson was before.
Okay.
Before you and I. No, not me. But I was drafted. We were drafted the same year, right?
Yeah. Well, I was drafted in '68.
Yeah, you came up in '70, Sarge in '72.
Yeah. So that when you look at that draft, there were some great players in that draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big time draft. But again, there's a lot of highlights throughout your career. A lot of times you forget them.
Well, take us down memory lane, because these wonderful Phillies baseball fans love to hear them.
Well, you were Rookie of the Year, 73, said? See, back then, I don't know if people realize, when you had so many at-bats, like the year before when I came up in 71, I played like a month and a half. So I didn't qualify in 72 to be Rookie of the Year. And I think that was
that's not a good rule.
Yeah, and there was, I think that was a strike year too, or we got locked out or whatever.
Yeah, we started late. That was my first year as PA announcer.
Yeah, so we started late. So there's a lot of different things that happen, but being able to play as long as we played, we both had a few injuries and overcame them. I had a complete ACL in 77 or 76, and I think of football players now, they're out for a year. Basketball players, it happened to me in late April, and I was back in August. I mean, and I think about it now, but at that time the injury that I had was supposed to be career ending for especially a basketball player or guys that do a lot of jumping. So
and those guys now, though, they usually will take the whole year.
Yeah.
In our era, we wanted to try and get back, but looking back on it, because I know I did the same thing, it might have been better to have gone through the whole year than to come back and almost re-injure.
We weren't that
whatever.
smart.
Good point.
Well, I'll tell you one. Anybody remember when the Bull hit the Liberty Bell on the facing of the upper deck in dead center field? It was like a heat-seeking missile. Tell us about that. This is my 52nd year as Phillies PA announcer. That's the longest home run I ever saw.
Yeah, I knew the pitcher pretty well because I faced him a lot in the minor leagues, Bert Hooton. Oh. And then he was with the Cubs, and he came up. It's like it's like the split now. He had a knuckle
curveball,
and it was like, what's a knuckle curveball? What's a knuckle curveball? You know, that type thing. But he got me, I got him. It was that type. Because you face pitchers more than you do today. And I hit that ball dead center off that bell. And it was a riser, I must say that.
Well, that was the only time it was ever done at the Vet. Yeah. Nobody else ever hit that.
I hit another ball. He threw a no-hitter against us, if you can recall, back in Chicago.
Yes.
And I cranked one out in Chicago, and Monday actually caught the ball blowing back in.
The wind blew the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that thing was over the bleachers. It was over the back fence and everything else. But the wind, one thing about Wrigley Field, you could hit home runs if you hit line drives into that wind.
Yep.
But if you got it up at all, then it hurt you and bring it back. But, Bert Hooton was also the guy that was booed off the mound in the playoffs.
In 77.
Yeah. I mean, I never seen a pitcher in my career get as frustrated. I'm serious, as he did. He didn't know what to do. He was walking around that mound, and he had the perfect manager that would just calm anybody down. And Tommy Lasorda, he's throwing shit out of the dugout and crap like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the most nervous pitcher I've ever seen. I've seen it happen one more time, and it happened in Chicago. We were facing Tommy John. And it's a true story. And people tell these stories all the time about the fireworks deal. But it was Baines hit a home run, I hit a home run, and Fisk hit a home run off Tommy John in the first. And, the fireworks, they were loading them as fast as they can. But the pitcher, he was with the Angels then. And the pitching coach came out to talk to him, And Tommy John walked halfway from the mound to the line. And here come the pitching coach. He flipped him the ball.
He said, hey, I got enough.
He goes, I had enough. I want out of here.
That's funny.
Oh, funny things do happen in the game, but it's fun. We had a great time. We were fortunate enough, like I said, to play a lot of years in the game.
Well, we've hit the halfway point of today's Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. And of course, we're on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. We'll be back with the second half of today's Bull Session after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Relax and enjoy a cocktail from our seasonal cocktail menu. Try one of our delicious, perfectly blended options like strawberry lemonade. How about a raspberry sangria, blend of Pinot Grigio, raspberry liqueur, and bubbly lemon lime soda. Or maybe a Hendrick's Gimlet or a Patron Tropical Mojito is more your style. Enjoy one of these or many others from our Chicky and Pete's sensational seasonal cocktail selection. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
I SEPTA Philly.
I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly.
I take SEPTA so I never miss tip-off.
I do not have time to deal with traffic.
I don't have a car.
Do you know how expensive parking is?
I take the Broad Street line to all the games.
I ride the bus.
I ride the train and the subway.
I set my lineup when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
Whether you're headed to brunch or baseball practice, Team Toyota is ready. With new Toyotas on the lot ready to drive home today, including the all-new Tacoma and rows of RAV4s. And with our huge selection of dependable certified used Toyotas, our pre-owned departments are ready to make a deal that works for you. Plus, our award-winning service centers will have you back on the road in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Welcome back, everybody, to Chickies and Pete's, to WBCB, 1490 AM. By the way, as most of you probably already know, this show is also video streamed. So if the audio isn't enough and you want to see us, we're on WBCBsports.com or YouTube page WBCB Sports. Sarge, we were talking about some of the great moments in Greg's career, and you and I had this discussion earlier, but of course, one of my favorite, when the Phillies get to the postseason and we get to the World Series, wow.
We know you step it up.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'd like to think I do all right during the regular season, too, but, man, that brings the best out of you.
You go into high gear when we get there.
Thank you. Sarge, in 1983, you helped lead the Phillies to the World Series against the Orioles, and you were the NLCS MVP. What do you remember about the atmosphere at the Vet, winning down the stretch the way that you did? And how about beating that Dodgers team that beat the Phillies like a drum all year long, but you led them to a win over Los Angeles in the National League Championship Series?
Yeah, I think personally for me, this city, like no other city, loves to win. And they come out in droves to let you know and appreciate it. Whether or not it's hockey, basketball, they come out. Now, in saying that, they're going to come out and show you displeasure as well. I don't think every athlete, can play in this city. But when you play and you play well, you really get treated really well all the way around, and it's a genuine love that the Philadelphia fans have for you when you're doing and giving that 100% on the field, and also being able to do the job. But like I said, you got to be able, if you can take it, you got to be able to take it when you're not doing as well. And a lot of athletes, that play here don't do that. I mean, ask Ben Simmons.
When you hit that decisive home run, was that Jerry Royce on the mound? That was the pitcher, the left-handed pitcher for the Dodgers?
Jerry Royce, on the mound and so on. And, again, just hitting it against the Dodgers because you battle them for so long, so many years, and the same players they had, the infield they had for 10 years. You know, they were a close-knit group there. And to beat the Dodgers, usually they weren't going to beat themselves. So that was a good series for us that year, even though we didn't play very well during the World Series.
I love the way the bat came out of your hand after that home run.
Little bat flip, but that's, again, you really feel that you know it's going out of the ballpark. You don't want to do that and it hits the wall, which I've seen my son do that a couple times, matter of fact. I told him you got to hit a few so that you know it, that it's going out of the ballpark.
You had another great year in 1984 with the Chicago Cubs. And, of course, Ryne Sandberg was out there, and Bobby Dernier was out there, wasn't he, in 84?
Bob Dernier won a Gold Glove there, and believe it or not, he called me yesterday, was the day that he actually was going to be sent to the minors, and we were traded to the Cubs. That just shows you how late in the season it was in spring training, and now they're starting the season already. So that was a big year for Bobby D in winning the Gold Glove, and I think it was the first outfielder to win a Gold Glove, and particularly a center fielder.
And, of course, Greg, your manager in the 1980 World Series championship, Dallas Green, was now the president of the Cubs, Sarge, in 84?
Well, GM, president, manager, you name it. That's what he was. Definitely.
Well,
he had a hand in everything.
You know, kidding.
He infused the Cubs with some pretty good talent, wouldn't you say?
Well, I mean, he picked guys. He was the farm director, so certainly he should know talent. Obviously, in picking Sandberg, a Hall of Famer, which he talks about that to this day, Rhino does, would let you know. And he wasn't really tearing it up, but he took a chance on Rhino's ability, and look what happened there.
Greg Luzinski, we were talking about the longest home run that you hit that I ever saw. Tell us, Greg, about Comiskey Park, the longtime home of the Chicago White Sox. I think they were even the home when they were the Black Sox, right? When they had that gambling issue in 1919 or 20?
I think those ballparks in Chicago were designed by the same guy, Wrigley Field, and then the White Sox ballpark. There's a lot of similarities there. The new one they want to build now looks gorgeous. You know, I mean it's just north of Soldiers Field, and you can see downtown. So when they get that thing built, it'll be one of the prettiest ballparks in the league. But
what I was getting at.
Well, I was fortunate enough, you know, to hit 3 over the roof, you know, in 1 year, and it's a long way.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the long, great history of Comiskey Park, Chicago, very few players hit it on the roof. Bull did 3 in 1983 when he had 32 home runs and 95 RBIs and was DH of the year. And the only other people that put him up there, Jimmy Fox, the great Philadelphia Athletic and Boston Red Sox. I think Ted Williams might have hit one onto the right field roof. Mickey Mantle may have. Dick Allen hit one to center field that few people ever do. And, of course, Dick
that was his power.
Yeah.
You know, center field, right center. He could hit him as far as anybody to right center field. He could hit him as far as left-hand hitters. You know, I mean, I was fortunate enough to play with the guy, and He was a good hitter, and you didn't want to make Dick mad. And I found out when he started doing this with his glasses, he put his finger there and push. He was mad.
Well, he could hit.
Fastball. He'd tell the pitcher that too. He'd be in the on deck. He'd tell the pitcher, "You come close to me, I'll come get you." That's how the game used to be, though. Think about it. Yeah. And he always wore that heavy shirt. But he was fun to play with. He really was. I didn't have any problems with. Our team had no problems with. I think Danny Ozark handled him probably as good as you could handle Dick. Obviously, what's his name? When he's with the White Sox, he had a big year. Remember, he used to draw on the field
at Connie Mack Stadium when he was still
etch it out with his
first-time
spikes.
Philly.
Yeah. So he was a great guy. But getting back to Comiskey Park, it was different. It was those cold brick buildings, it held the dampness in there and the cold, but the people were close to the field.
Yeah.
And Nancy Faust, who played the organ there, I think she still does for the White Sox, could get people going as good as anybody in any ballpark. It was amazing. They didn't have the fancy scoreboard, with obviously the fireworks type thing. And the one thing about that center field scoreboard, everybody used to think that we had somebody out there with the signs and lights would flash to give us the pitches. And I said, you know what? They can give you the pitches, but you still got to hit them.
Yeah.
Bull, 2 weeks from today, and fans, keep this in mind. We'll be back here 2 weeks from today, April 15th. Phillies are home that night. They're also going to have a great promotion called Pioneers and Pinstripes that will reflect on the Phillies' African-American baseball players. And Greg, you mentioned Dick Allen. We're going to have Richard Allen Jr., a good friend of all of ours, and Rob Holliday, who put that together.
Bill White going to be here?
Bill's in his mid to late 80s, and he's not in the best of. I would love to get Bill on.
It's funny because him and Darren Johnson were the first baseman when I first came. When I was 68, when I was drafted, Bill White was the first baseman, and then obviously he moved on, and Darren was there. But in spring training, I was fortunate enough to be behind those guys and see them play. So,
Bill White, National League president, Yankees broadcaster. What a distinguished career. He was on the 64 St. Louis Cardinals World Championship team to beat the Yankees. It should have been us. But, we got to take another break. When we come back, I want to ask Gary Matthews and Greg Luzinski about Shohei Ohtani. And there's somebody at Chickies and Pete's today who's applied for the job as his interpreter. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Pete from Chickie and Pete's. Relax and enjoy a cocktail from our seasonal cocktail menu. Try one of our delicious, perfectly blended options like strawberry lemonade. How about a raspberry sangria, blend of Pinot Grigio, raspberry liqueur, and bubbly lemon lime soda. Or maybe a Hendrick's Gimlet or a Patron Tropical Mojito is more your style. Enjoy one of these or many others from our Chickie and Pete's sensational seasonal cocktail selection. Only at Chickies and Pete's.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
I SEPTA Philly.
I SEPTA Philly. I SEPTA Philly.
I take SEPTA so I never miss tip-off.
I do not have time to deal with traffic.
I don't have a car.
Do you know how expensive parking is?
I take the Broad Street line to all the games.
I ride the bus. I ride the train and the subway.
I set my lineup when I ride.
I check Twitter, text my buddies.
I watch sports highlights or lowlights.
For real Philly fans, SEPTA is the hometown way to go. Ride with us at iseptaphilly.com.
Whether you're headed to brunch or baseball practice, Team Toyota is ready. With new Toyotas on the lot ready to drive home today, including the all-new Tacoma and rows of RAV4s. And with our huge selection of dependable certified used Toyotas, our pre-owned departments are ready to make a deal that works for you. Plus, our award-winning service centers will have you back on the road in no time. Visit one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, or Glen Mills, or online at teamtoyota.net.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session presented by SEPTA. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Gary Sarge Matthews.
Welcome back, everybody. And look who's our guest today. Greg the Bull Luzinski. With Gary Matthews, I am Dan Baker, and I have to point out, my wife Kathy is here, my daughter Courtney, and our 2 grandchildren, Rio, who's 4 years old, and Aria, who's 7 weeks old. Wow. There they are over there. The Naras. Courtney Baker Nara. Thank you guys for coming. Sarge, I think you and Bull wanted to get into a little bit more of this year's Phillies. Let's do that.
Well,
where do you think we're going?
Well, I mean, we were going to talk about Ohtani in the very beginning to see whether or not
All right,
he
let's
should
do
actually
that first.
be playing. I think the one of us, I don't know, Greg, if you believe in that, that don't know a whole lot about it, it's hard to really comment to say. In saying that, let's go back, if you went some years, if that story had broke and it was Pete Rose, he probably would be suspended until they got it all straightened out. Usually, where there's smoke, there's fire. But again, the game has changed, so much. No betting when we were playing. I mean, there's a sign right there. You would be permanently disqualified. Right. Then now, all of a sudden, they have it in every clubhouse. Go ahead and bet, except for on your own team. So I think, again, it's been a little bit hypocritical. With Ohtani again in the big market of L.A., the Asian, I just don't see a lot being able to happen there. Maybe a slap on the wrist and not do it anymore, or maybe getting a better interpreter or someone that's able to count a little bit better. But I think, too, once this is straightened out, he's going to go on a tear. He's just too good of a hitter, and L.A. has just too good of a team. They have some smashers, to say the least.
Bull, what are your feelings on that subject?
Well, like Pete Rose says, he wish he had an interpreter.
Leave it to Pete, too, to come up with that.
I'll be take this the right way. Asians like to bet.
Right. Obviously, yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
The problem is baseball and these gambling, FanDuel and all these other, making it too easy. You know, you go on your phone, you can place a bet. Now, I don't know, Ohtani's making, $700 million. But you're trying to tell me you wouldn't know that $4.5 million was coming out of your account? I mean, that's not chump change. I think there's more to this story than it'll come out. But they were on national TV yesterday, and if you listen to it, they didn't want to talk about it.
Oh no, they've already been told.
They've been told, zip it, yeah. So obviously there's more to it, and the Dodgers don't talk about it. Everything's zipper your lip, and that's it. Just let it play out. But that's too easy. It's too easy to do the bad thing now than the good thing when it comes to betting. I know in Florida you have to have a separate account because the Seminole Indians are the ones that control the gambling in Florida.
Let's in the brief time, about 5 minutes remaining, Chris, or so. How do you two see 2024 unfolding for the Phillies? Of course, went to the postseason the last 2 years, defeated the Braves in the NLDS, and almost made it back to the World Series last year. We had came back for game 6 and 7 versus Arizona. Well, I was certain we were going to win. I couldn't believe the Diamondbacks were going to win both of those. But it's baseball. And what's going to happen this year, Sarge?
Well, let's face it. Last year, Arizona had the momentum. And I think after the series we had there with the Braves, it might have taken a lot out of them. And I think that probably should have given them really a little bit more incentive. When you play like they played yesterday with some urgency, they're a tough ball club to beat. I mean, period. They give you and they grind out those at-bats. They play pretty good defense and catching the ball, really, for the most part, especially there in the outfield. And I'm sure the pitchers would love that. They're going to get back, I feel, to the playoffs. I'd like to send a statement and break up that division where they win that against Atlanta. And yesterday, big ball game, coming back to win that after really getting beat the way that they did. And the one thing I'll say about their hitters, they're not intimidated. Atlanta has a pretty good pitching staff. Phillies aren't intimidated. And once they get their guys rolling, we need Bryce, obviously. I mean, he carries a lot of energy. JT getting that home run yesterday will do a lot for him. So top to bottom, they have a pretty good team. Now it's gelling, putting things together, and playing every game like it's an urgency like they did yesterday, grinding out at bats. And, you got to win those one-run ball games if you're going to be a champion.
Greg Luzinski, how do you see 2024 unfolding for the Phillies?
Well, obviously the fans are very excited about this ball club, but we really didn't make any major changes in it. I think our offense will be fine. I think before it's all over, you're going to have to find a center fielder, but that's just me.
You're a little down on him, huh?
Well, he
did hit 300 last year when he
came. You go by track record, like they would say. Gary Matthews, look at his track record. At the end of the year, he'll be there. This kid doesn't have a track record, obviously, but at any rate, my problem is, I think your number one pitcher, obviously Wheeler. I think number two is really Suarez. I think that Nola gives up too many home runs.
You know what? He throws too many strikes.
Yeah.
He really does. Too many strikes.
And it's getting to the point now that his velocity isn't what it was, so it changes. But here's the big thing. big thing for me is everybody's talking about this bullpen, and because on paper it's they're the best bullpen, but that was by that war or whatever. So they're not the best bullpen. Let me tell you something. Hypothetically, I'm sitting next to Gary and we're in the locker room. I go, "Hey, Sarge, who's our closer?" Sarge looks at me and says, "We don't have one. We're going to do it by committee." Well, guess what? If you're going to do it by committee, then why did the left-hander Matt Strom face Duvall when you had the right-hander out there warmed up? I mean, if you're going to do it by committee, then you better have that guy face them. You're facing their best pinch hitter in a crucial situation to keep you in the game, and we didn't. Our manager didn't react to it. But you got to have a closer. I don't care how hard these guys are supposed to throw the ball in the bullpen. You're always going to find somebody to hit a fastball. I mean, that's part of being in the big leagues, you know. But you think Alvarado can go the whole year to be a closer? No, I don't think so. I think we're going to have injuries out there. We already had one, and the other guy is Brogdon. Why is Brogdon here? Did he have that? I looked at his numbers.
He has no options left.
Well, so that's
sometimes guys do that, Bull. I mean, player-wise too.
Yeah.
Run out of options. Yeah. They keep you.
I agree with what you're saying.
I understand it, but I think if that's the case, you got to be trying to make a deal somehow to get him out.
Couldn't agree with you more.
And I think that's going to be the one thing that's going to stop us. I hate to say it. I think there's some good pitchers out there, but I think that part of our pitching, the bullpen and how it's going to be handled, and to find that closer and find that guy that can come in and shut the door is going to make the difference in the season.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Matthews and Greg Luzinski will be back next Monday at Chickies and Pete's in Marlton. Tommy Green will co-host. For our producer, Chris Ermer, for Gary Matthews and the Bull, I'm Dan Baker. See you next week.